Let's see what's out there.
Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There, a weekly live stream and video stream and podcast. We're not live, a video stream and podcast currently focused on Star Trek Picard Season 3, which is available to watch on Paramount Plus or Amazon Prime, depending on where you are geographically. My name's Keith Isles, and as ever, I am joined by
Pete Mealy.
And we are both film and television enthusiasts. And in today's episode, we are going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around part 6 of season 3, which is titled The Bounty. So there you go. How are you doing, Pete?
Better than Riker? I don't know. Let's get into it.
Lots to talk about. Sorry, I'm still half asleep myself, but I wanted to get this done. But no, we are not going live. This is a recorded stream. I actually was, and I'm always flattered to be. I've been invited on. Yesterday, I was invited on 2 live streams to talk about this, and they're both channels that are much bigger than this one, with a much greater reach, etc. But I actually turned down the offer on this occasion, and the reason being is because, as you know, or as any of our regular viewers know, we watch this and then we try and do this as soon as we can and try not to read any reviews or any speculations or anything to make this fresh. Now, I've got a bit of a wild theory that's come out of this one, and what I didn't want to do was appear on another stream and actually talk about that, or be prompted to talk about that, or indeed be swayed by what anybody else was saying. So I didn't actually watch their streams either yet. I will do, but I didn't. I suppose I should say a thank you to those for inviting me. So I was invited by Dan Hadley to join the Space Book for his discussion, and I was also invited by the rabbi from another planet to enthuse about New Trek, which he is now, which they're all now loving, as far as I know. But as I said, I've appeared on other streams with them, but this time I specifically thought, no, I want to save it, and I want to try and avoid everything and save it for this discussion for our stream, even though I'm probably missing out on massive publicity for the channel. And while I say that, if you are new here and you're watching this, welcome. Obviously, we're not live, so hopefully you'll find this
live to tape.
Exactly. If you find this sort of thing in any way informative, entertaining, anything like that, please do give us one of those thumbs up, likes. Consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell icon so that you get notified as and when film and television content drops on this channel, and check out some of the other work on here. We obviously have covered the previous 5 episodes of Picard also. So if you're catching up, like I tend to do, catch up with podcasts. Later, I'll go back and do a bit of a binge sometimes. So anything like that, please do get in touch, and we will give you contact information at the end of this and in the show notes and all of that good stuff as well. I'll get that out of the way now. So, Pete, I've got 2 questions for you, and it's regarding, if you like, consumption platforms. Now, and bear with me here. So, here in the UK, I know you're over in the US. In the UK, even though I have Paramount Plus, Picard is actually not showing on Paramount Plus in the UK because they've still got the deal with Amazon Prime based on showing the first 2 seasons of Picard. So here on Amazon Prime, one thing I noticed, and it kind of bothered me, and I wondered whether it was an error or this was how we were meant to see it, or if it's any different anywhere else. But at the beginning of the episode, when Vadik and her ship finds the beacon, and she's having a conversation with her crew. When the crew speak, there's no subtitles. So I'm like, are we meant to know what they're saying? So what I did is I went back. I watched the whole episode because I was mesmerized, obviously, and then I went back and I played the episode again with closed captions on. And when she speaks, obviously you get the subtitles, but whenever the aliens speak, it says alien language, and there are no subtitles. So I thought that was a bit weird because I felt like I got the impression they were protesting what she was saying, and we were supposed to understand that. But obviously, I always this information that we're not meant to know, and I was a little bit confused. So I don't know whether Amazon got something wrong with their algorithm there or what, or their codec.
The Paramount Plus
yeah
stream gives you the aliens speech without, like, I didn't have subtitles on, but it subtitled their speech. And
interesting.
The guy who gets vaporized was protesting.
Right. Okay. That was the impression I got, but I couldn't understand what they're saying. And also, that actually reminded me very much of. I know we haven't got to Easter eggs yet, but it reminded me of Christopher Lloyd as Krug in Star Trek 3, when one of the Klingon officers sort of talks back to him and he vaporizes them. I just kind of thought that was funny. So that was one question I had. The other one I've got is, I remember when we used to cover the first 2 seasons of Picard, which, by the way, you can find here. And we've also covered Discovery in the past. And you used to, at that point, have CBS All Access, I believe, was where they played.
That's what it was before.
Something we always used to talk about, because we never got it on Amazon Prime, but you always said that there was a little preview of the next episode. And I wondered, do you still get that, or do you just see the episode and that's it nowadays?
So I don't know for sure, but what I will say is that what I get is, like, it starts the credits.
Okay.
And then I horribly don't watch all of the end credits. So
right. They are long.
I watched the first one, but then I don't remember anything coming after the first episode. But like after this episode, it also might be that, like, I was so traumatized by the coming next weeks in the first episodes, the first 2 seasons, that I've just trained myself to shut it down. And so what I can say is that, there's no, I don't believe there is, but you know what I did do was here. Will we get in trouble if I show you this? I just pulled it up on my phone. That's the scene where, sorry. Yeah, Vedic there is talking, and the guy who gets vaporized, he says, "Hey, they're a step ahead." Like, that's what it comes up as.
Right. So that's what annoys her. Okay.
And then he gets even further into it, like, no sound, right? But
I don't think we'll get in trouble for this.
Yeah. So there she is, like,
on your phone that I can the screen. There we go. Right.
Sorry.
Okay.
Is that better? That's better. So here she is, just like, talking.
Monologuing. Yeah,
monologuing. Don't worry, I make fun of this monologue in the recap a little bit. And then
I kind of love the over-the-topness of it, actually.
Dude, all I could think was, like, what is the spaceship design here? We're getting all out of it, but, like, look at that lighting. Like, what is that lighting in the spaceship? Anyway, and then when does he? I'm hoping he.
I think it's when she steps up here. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's important information.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe they don't have this on. Seriously, I'm sure I haven't done anything wrong on Amazon Prime. That definitely didn't come up when I watched it. And as I said, I went into closed captions and it wasn't there either. But anyway, we're probably boring the audience to death with that. So for any of you that haven't joined us before, we do have a very loose kind of agenda, if you like, format for this show. As I said, there are spoilers, etc. We do talk a little bit about behind the scenes because we are filmmakers as well. So we find that sort of thing obviously fascinating, as Spock would say. And, you know, we look at Easter eggs, of which there are many in this one. We have our own predictions and thoughts and speculations and nitpicks and all sorts of stuff. So so that's the basic format. And I guess we should just get into it, shouldn't we? So, Pete, engage.
With Frontier Day a mere 72 hours away, Vedic is back and angrily looking for Picard. Meanwhile, the Titan is shedding decoy transponders, hoping this will help. On the ship, Beverly lets Picard know that Jack has Irumodic syndrome, just like Daddy, but even more so. So Picard goes to drink with Jack, and they have another awkward talk. Worf and Raffi show up, they grab Riker, and they beam onto Daystrom to figure out what the changeling stole. But the Federation catches up quickly, so the Titan leaves the away team on Daystrom and go to the Fleet Museum, where they meet up with Geordi. Geordi and his other daughter beam on board. He and his daughter on the ship are at odds. So while the old people talk parenting and Federation stuff, Jack and Sid grab a Klingon cloaker off of the Bounty, presumably wiping away the whale smell, and then connect it to the Titan. And then everyone gets the hell out of Dodge and sneak back to Daystrom, where Riker quickly diffuses the Moriarty alarm system and discovers a synthetic aged Data who should hold the database of what was stolen. Worf, Raffi, and Data beam out, but Riker is stuck behind, getting the crap beat out of him by a Starfleet security officer who quickly kills the other two Starfleet security officers and transforms into Vadic, who stops beating Riker and says she will start beating someone else. Cue Deanna Troy's entry. Back on the Titan, the synth Data looks to be holding parts of Sung, B4, Lal, Lore, and Data, all at odds with each other. But Data claws his way to the top and lets them know that what was stolen are Picard's human remains. And we'll have to find out next week why anyone would want that diseased old raisin. Credits.
Hey, nice. A packed episode yet again. But we'll get there. We'll get there. But first, it's time to make it so. Okay, so this is where we look at the some of the production credits for this week's episode. This was once again directed by Dan Liu, who we spoke about last week, and this episode is credited to being written by Christopher Monfetti. Again, we've looked at some of his work in previous episodes of this, so I don't want to do too much repetition. But I thought we'd have a look at some of the, if you like, some of the supporting cast outside of the main Star Trek ensemble that we know very well. So I thought today we'd look at the LaForge girls as we get both LaForge siblings appear in this episode and have something quite significant to do as well in the storyline. So first of all, she's been in a number of episodes already. Ashley Sharp Chestnut plays Ensign Sydney LaForge in this show, doing a fantastic job as well, I have to say. So looking at the acting credits for this young lady, she started off with a very small part in one episode of Gotham, playing Officer Parks. Then went on to have a few episodes of Homeland, playing Simone Barr. From there, went on to The Good Fight, Timberwood. These are all sort of one episode credits. Instinct, the TV series, playing Teresa Daniels. Prodigal Son, The Audience, Blue Bison, Those are shorts, those last two, sorry. And then again in the TV series, Rap Shift playing Fatima, and NCIS Los Angeles, 2 episodes of that, playing FBI Special Agent Summer Mulhurst before getting this part as Sydney LaForge. Also, looking at her credits, she's done quite a bit of accomplished stage work as well. So very good. Next up, playing the role of Alondra LaForge, we have Mika Burton. Now, Mika is actually LeVar's real life daughter. So she is actually Geordie's daughter, quite literally. And again, has had some TV roles over the years with shows like Schooled, The 11 Little Roosters, Overwatch League, Critical Role, and Vampire the Masquerade LA by Night, playing Delilah before getting this part in Picard. So I think it's quite cool that they've managed to do that. And both very young actresses, but already doing a fair bit of work in the industry, which is all good. So I thought I'd talk about them this week. Here we go. So have you got your drink ready?
Yeah, hotel issue coffee. Ooh.
Hotel issue coffee. Oh, lovely. Lucky you.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't got tea Earl Grey hot. I've actually got black coffee, which is more of a Janeway drink, I guess. But anyway, let's order some tea Earl Grey hot. Right, so this is just a bit of fun where we talk about any Easter eggs and references that we spotted.
Any.
I think we could be here for an hour with this section, because of all the episodes we've had so far. I mean, this is just fan service member berry heaven. Mm-hmm. Although I will say I think it's all been very well done, because everything that they've done here has been integral to the plot, or character development or whatever. So I've quite enjoyed it, and it's been everything from music cues to lines of dialogue to spaceships to props to you name it. We've got everything in this one, haven't we? So I've got a few slides for this one, but before I waffle on with it, please, Pete, if you want to jump in and point out any obvious ones.
Okay, so we've got 2 different sections here of Easter eggs, where it's like an Easter egg hunt for babies, right? Because they are just right there. But the Daystrom Institute is holding, I'll be honest, I thought it looked like the AI monster from Discovery on one of the slides, right? A doomsday device from TOS, right? One of those computer things that Kirk had to talk down. I couldn't figure out which one it was. James Kirk's actual body, which little bit of disagreement on that one, right? Maybe. Oh no, he came out of the Nexus. You're right. Okay, so yeah, they have his actual body. A genetically modified attack tribble. That's harder to say than it should be. And then in the Fleet Museum, I mean, every single ship you could think of, right? The DS9, right? The what's it called?
Defiant.
The Defiant, right, which has a cloaking device and works fine. The Bounty, the 1701A is there, and it was right. It was 1701A.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah,
right
you
there.
haven't faltered. You haven't faltered at all. No, absolutely. Right. Yeah. So let's get. I get. By the way, when you're googling to try and get slides for things like this, because I'm putting in like Picard episode, Picard Part 6 ships or whatever, and I'm trying really hard when I do it not to go on to spoilers or other reviews, etc. So
Voyager. I forgot to say Voyager.
yes, yeah, we'll get to that. That's fine.
Sweet beauty.
So, first of all, the title itself of this episode is, of course, an Easter egg from one of our faves, Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, because obviously this is what, with a sense of historical irony, it's what Dr. McCoy renames the captured Klingon bird of prey. So obviously that itself is an Easter egg. But as you rightly said, we've kind of got two things going on. We've got the Starfleet Museum and we've got the Daystrom Station. Now, let's be clear about that, because I did sort of, for a second, double take there. Right. So the Daystrom Institute.
I'm calling it the wrong thing.
Yeah, the Daystrom Institute is on Earth. The Daystrom Station, which of course is an Easter egg in itself because it's named after a character from the original series, right? Is a sort of a covert, well, not so covert, but it is a sort of top secret, supposed to be anyway, station, and it looks like it's connected to Section 31, which where they've got a lot of stuff. So we've got sort of two pools of major Easter eggs here, visual and story and plot and all sorts of stuff. So probably not going to nail absolutely every one here. I've only watched it the once. I'm sure if I went back and got my freeze frame on and whatever, I'd maybe spot some more ships and some more props and whatever. But there are a few. So first of all, in terms of things that you're seeing, I think you've already said, yes, there was a genetically modified Tribble, which I think is so stupid, but the attack Tribble, which there's a bit of banter between Worf and Riker because of that, and because of the history there. I also noticed the sort of that bottom middle picture, the weapon from the beginning of Star Trek Nemesis, the Romulan weapon.
Was that there?
Turns every I think I saw that in one of the things. But like you said, there was also a computer from, I think it's is there one called the Ultimate Computer in the original series?
Yeah, that's one of them.
I'm obviously more of the movie guy, so there was the Genesis Mark II device in there, which they even play a little bit of the score from James Horner from Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan as he passes that. But Genesis device Mark II, which is kind of a scary one. Obviously, as you mentioned, the remains of both Kirk and Picard, which I think both of those we'll talk about later, rather than highlighting those too much now. You're absolutely right as well. We get Moriarty, which of course is played by Daniel Davis, who was played Moriarty in, I think, 2 episodes of Next Gen. It was Elementary, Dear Data, and I think Ship in a Bottle.
That sounds right.
Where is a antagonist for that. Now, apparently this was actually spoiled in the trailers. I didn't realize this, but I've since gone back and realized that in the trailer you do actually see this, but I don't know.
I missed that.
Well,
I didn't really watch the trailers. Yeah,
big bad. Yeah, I try and avoid that. There was also the Black Crow, which was from the data centric episode Birthright, which was kind of you used to lure them there. And the other one that I really, for a second, this one I was going backwards and forwards on, because I was like, is this an Easter egg or a mistake? Right? Was the whole if you like, key to get in with the pop goes the weasel from the obviously the original Encounter at Farpoint
Farpoint.
episode. By the way, in my film The Baby Watcher, sort of plug my own work here, but the nursery rhyme in that is Pop Goes the Weasel, and the whole reason for that was my own Easter egg for my love of Star Trek, as it was used obviously in Encounter at Farpoint. So I have that. But the reason I was going sort of round in circles in my head on this is I thought, oh, Riker got this, right? Because obviously he was there and he finished it off, and Data said marvelous in the same way that Moriarty says marvelous in this. But in the film Nemesis, when they're at Data's wake, this is the first time Data dies. Riker can't remember what it was that Data was trying to whistle. So that's why I kind of went, oh, is that a mistake, or is that actually an actual Easter egg? But I think he remembered when it was important, right? So there was that, and I'm sure there were many other things in that room that we may not have spotted, but that was some of them. And then, of course, Starfleet Museum itself. With this, I loved this bit, where obviously we see Space Dock, which was, of course, seen in Star Trek's 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? We saw Space Dock in that. So that was kind of the home of the museum there. And then, of course, all the ships around the outside. Again, I've not freeze-frame this to see every ship, but I noticed that there was an original like Klingon battle cruiser in there, and a Romulan warbird. I think I saw the NX-01 Enterprise around the back of it, but it's impossible to tell from these pictures. Unfortunately, I really struggled to find photos online for this, but I think the NX-1 might have been there just behind the Klingon battle cruiser, which for anyone who is watching this on YouTube, it's sort of the bottom right of the screen. The second one over is kind of I think that's the NX-01 behind. I mean, if any time they reference Enterprise, it just makes me smile with joy, because anyone that knows me and Pete know that we both love Enterprise, and it was over too soon. So that was in there. Obviously, we get we see a Constitution class, and it's the USS New Jersey NCC 1975. Now, this is quite a good Easter egg, because Terry Matalas, who is the showrunner here, was born in New Jersey in 1975. So a little bit like JJ did with the Kelvin. They've kind of used names and registry numbers that have something quite personal, but also add to Star Trek canon, which is cool. One of the things I found interesting about this, though, Pete, and you'll probably laugh at me, but bear with me here. So when they showed that original Constitution class ship there, it is actually literally the original series version, white with the orange radar and nacelle tips and all of that, as seen in the original series, as opposed to the reimagined Constitution class that they're using in Strange New Worlds. Which I just found that really interesting, because again, are we talking timelines here or what? But I mean, technically, this is how the ship in Strange New Worlds should look. Obviously, because they established that at the end of season 1 of Discovery, that they redesigned it, and hence why, when we've talked about that, I always say I think of it as being a sequel to Enterprise rather than being a prequel to everything else that came. But I just think it's interesting that they used the old design there for that. And by the way, all of this makes total sense, because I came to visit you last year, Pete, at the end of last year. Well, when I moved on from New York. I went down to Philadelphia, and I actually, ran the Rocky Steps and all that like I wanted to, because I'd never been there before. And I actually visited the USS New Jersey, which is a museum battleship, yeah. And I did the tour, and they do quite literally have like models of enemy ships from history and all of that sort of thing there. So I kind of like this sort of makes sort of real life sense as well, that Starfleet would hold something like this. And then of course, in terms of the featured ships we see, yes, we see the Enterprise A, which he says it turns out that Jack Crusher is a bit of a fanboy of starships and has quite a bit of knowledge. He calls it Kirk's Enterprise, which of course is true, because the original Enterprise that Robert April, Christopher Pike, and Kirk had, of course, was destroyed in Star Trek 3.
Yeah.
And then in Star Trek 4, they were given the Enterprise A, which Kirk commanded until it was decommissioned in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. So that makes sense that it was decommissioned and put here, and that was literally Kirk's Enterprise, meaning he was the only captain of that. Yeah. So I like that. And of course, they play when they show all of these, they play music cues from all different composers. We have some of Jerry Goldsmith from the motion picture. We have Jerry Goldsmith's Voyager theme when they show Voyager, and of course that's a lovely moment for 7 of 9, I think, to reminisce and say about how it went further than any starship, which is quite true, because it was lost in the Delta Quadrant, and it was special to her. We see, as you mentioned, we see the Defiant, and they play some of Dennis McCarthy's theme from Deep Space Nine. So we see Defiant there. And then, of course, we do see the Klingon bird of prey, the Bounty from Star Trek 4, and we get some of the Leonard Rosenman music from Star Trek 4, the Voyage Home. And obviously that ends up being absolutely integral to the plot. So so some really good stuff there, and just loads of Easter eggs. And I'm sure, my caveat as always, that there are many, many more that other channels out there would have probably. There's channels that specialize purely in spotting every single Easter egg, whether it's verbal or a reference to another episode, or visual, whatever. But yeah, I think we've got through quite a lot there. Did I any I missed, Pete, that you can think of?
No, I mean, you caught more than I did. I did not see the NX-01, but I'm going to go back.
I'm wondering whether I'm seeing what I want to see. I don't know, because the other thing I did wonder was whether the Excelsior was there somewhere as well. But as I said, without sort of going back and freeze framing and trying to sort of zoom in and stuff, it's quite hard to tell. But yeah. But sorry, I feel like I did a shitload of talking there. But
no, that was awesome. That was awesome. Sorry, I wasn't saying much because I was just enthralled.
Wanted to get all of this out, and of course the other thing, there's a lot of data references as well, in the fact that they obviously show B4 from Nemesis, which is obviously a younger Brent Spiner. So of course we get that in there. There's mention of Law. There's mention of Lal, which is great because that was from the episode The Offspring, which, by the way, was the first episode that Jonathan Frakes ever directed. And of course, that's where Data creates his own offspring, Lal. So that it's interesting that Lal gets a mention there.
Can I plug something crazy here?
Of course.
There's another podcast that the guys from Enterprise do, Connor Trenier and Dominic Keating.
Really?
do a podcast. Yeah. And
Okay.
recently their guest was Michael Westmore,
Right, the makeup artist.
the makeup artist. And
Mhm.
he said that the worst makeup he ever had to do to anyone was the lol makeup on the actor who plays lol before lol has decided on a gender.
Right.
Because it was a full body makeup. The guy couldn't even go to the bathroom. Like he just had, there was no way to get him in and out of the suit. So all day he couldn't eat, he couldn't go to the bathroom.
Wow.
He could do nothing. They couldn't shoot him on back-to-back days because it took so long to get him into. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's
recommend
great.
that
I had no. You see, every day is a learning day. I had no idea that Connor Trenier and Dominic Keaton to a podcast. I'm sure that's got a huge following.
It's a great show. I mean, the guests they get on is great. Sorry, I'm plugging somebody else's stuff.
Well, of course, and I mean that. Without being cynical, of course they're going to get big guests on. You know what I mean. But we try our best, right? But also, of course, this references heavily as well previous episodes of Picard because or previous seasons of Picard, because of course we've got the other Sung brother whose name escapes me, but we
Alton?
have Brent Alton. That's it. Yeah, we've got Brent Spiner playing that role as well. We also we have reference to the Iremonic syndrome from All Good Things and whatever, which came up in previous seasons of Picard as well. And one reference that I really loved was there was a Next Gen episode that I really enjoyed called Relics, and it was the one where James Doohan guests as Scotty, who's trapped in the transporter. And there's a scene where he wants to he goes to the holodeck and wants to go to the bridge of the Constitution class original series, one. And when Picard comes in and recognizes it, he says, "We have one at the Fleet Museum." He actually says that in Relics. So again, that is so cool that that's in this as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, just tons of good stuff there. As I said, we're going long just because of that. So how many lights can you see, Pete?
If I take my glasses off, there are 4 lights.
All right. So speculation time. And I don't know. I've tried to avoid reading anything or any spoilers or any other reviews or whatever, but something sprung into my head when I saw this, and it's kind of crazy and I might be insane, but I really want to bounce it off you. But before I do,
are you sure?
Have you got any?
I've got 2 like minor things, but like I think I want to hear yours first.
Really?
I don't know. What do you think is the right way to handle this? Okay, very quickly. 1, they are setting up that Frontier Day, all of the ships are going to be at the Fleet Museum. So the Changeling plan is to wipe out all of Starfleet in one day.
Definitely, yes.
Clear. 2, I really think the people on Vedek's ship are Breen because of getting to hear them talk so much in this episode. I was like, oh, that really sounds like the Breen voices from DS9. I think. It's not exactly the same, but a little bit reimagined. So I'm doubling down on the Breen thing. I think I said that before. Okay, that's what I got.
Oh, okay.
Bring it.
I don't know. I don't know whether I'm talking absolute crazy here, but this show, Terry Matalas, the writers on this, they're trying to give the fans everything they want, right? And they're trying to surprise us, and they're keeping secrets. They're doing misdirects with some of this stuff because obviously we didn't know exactly. Brent Spiner was in the publicity posters and stuff, as you pointed out on an early episode, and I was like, what? And all of this, and we didn't know how he was going to come into it and how they were going to sort of get him in there this season. I must admit, I think they've done a better job of that with this than they did trying to shoehorn him into season 2. You know, with him playing, you know, the bad guy that was another relative. This for me is the best they've done since Star Trek Enterprise season 4, where they had him in. That's the best other use of Brent Spiner outside of, you know, the Data character, in my opinion, anyway. But here you go. This is what I think. I think they are going to. William Shatner had his a birthday, I think his 91st birthday or whatever, earlier this week. I am wondering, I really did think this, when they showed the James T. Kirk remains, which of course were buried on Viridian 3 at the end of Star Trek Generations, you know, by Picard, and obviously Section 31 or whatever have taken this and they've got it. As they're throwing every member berry and every Easter egg and whatever at the screen on this one, and we're reassembling the next gen cast, and which of course are all appeared now. They're not all together yet, but they've all appeared as of this episode. But I'm wondering, you know, we all know that, or the rumor has it that Shatner was somewhat upset when J.J. Abrams did his sort of in continuity reboot, that, you know, to make that work, they could only involve Nimoy to make it make sense and whatever. But have they done a clever way here of bringing, you know, an elderly William Shatner back to, you know, will he be commanding the Enterprise A? And coming back to it's as I said, I've tried to avoid everything because I didn't even this picture, right? When I was Googling to find a picture of Shatner, this was, I only read the title at the bottom and it just said Easter eggs in episode, in part 6, which we've already found, which is where this picture comes from, showing the you know, the graphic with the Kirk's DNA, and then a picture of him there from Generations when we would have last seen him. So I don't know. I've not read anything. I don't know if this is crazy. I don't know whether Shatner would do it. I don't know whether they could afford him. I don't know any of this stuff, but it just made me think when I saw that. I thought, oh my God, are they going to throw everything at us? And are we going to have, you know, in this massive finale that they keep hinting at, is Kirk going to be in? They've said it's Kirk's Enterprise and all of this. Is he gonna show up? Are we gonna get either an old Shatner or a de-aged Shatner or something come onto our screen? What do you think? Am I absolutely insane to even suggest this?
I mean, I don't think you're absolutely insane to suggest it. I think it would be a steaming pile of poo if they did it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw William Shatner's stage production like 14 years ago. No.
Right.
12 years ago. And 12 years ago, I was like, oh, he shouldn't be performing anymore. Like, he had passed the age of prime performance, if you know what I mean. Right? Like, he literally would say the same thing a few times,
right?
Like, forget where he was and just keep saying the same sentence over and over. I was like, oh boy, right? And like,
yeah. No, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but
I feel like, so I'm questioning his physical ability to do it.
Fans, you know, they're trying to please the fans, aren't they? Whilst telling an entertaining story, and I don't know. It was the first. As soon as I saw it, as soon as I spotted that Easter egg, I thought to myself, "Oh my God, are they actually going to go there?" And I just wondered for a second, and I thought, you know what? Who knows? Anything's possible.
They
right?
might, because I'll say this: I was pretty disappointed with Moriarty. Like, when Moriarty showed up, I was like, oh, right? Like, I was super excited because that was one of the villains from the Next Generation that I thought was like, it was a great villain, right?
Yeah.
His arc was great. He was ruthless, he was effective, and like, they only just sort of managed to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he was back and like in control of a Section 31 area, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, right? That is awesome.
Yeah.
And then he was deactivated with a whistle. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a letdown. And so I feel like, yeah, you know what? It's a real possibility they put Kirk in this, but I feel like it's going to be a letdown if they do.
Right.
And so maybe we're bleeding into the next segment a little bit, but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, that's a wild, fun theory.
I know. I did actually think when I thought, am I going to make myself look like a complete idiot by going on the internet and actually saying this? But it was what I thought when I saw that. I thought, oh my God, are they going to go there? And I don't know, but
they might. I mean, he's like, there's only 2 original cast members left alive, right? Like
3. Wait, it's him,
3.
Walter Koenig, George Takei, yeah, and him, and I think out of the sort of main cast,
right?
That's it. But I mean, they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this, and yeah, I don't know. It was a bit of a wild one, but I thought, I wonder what they're going to do that. How they're going to do it, God only knows. And of course, if it would make sense, etc. But
I'll say this: they'll have my respect if they bring Takei and Koenig back in as well, right? You get the 3 of them back on that bridge.
Imagine that. Imagine that. That would be, I don't know. As I said, at the end, but where they're going in terms of like the Jack Crusher stuff and exactly what
I still don't get the Jack Crusher thing.
Exactly what Vadit wants. All of that stuff is still a bit. I mean, do they? They've obviously got Picard's. They stole Picard's remains, right? Which is what we learn at the end. So does that plus DNA from Jack, would that allow, because presumably some of Picard's remains of his body still has Borg implants dormant in it, right? And I don't know. It all gets.
I can't make it work in my head.
I can't
make it work.
I can't.
All I can think is that like you need his body because to provide like a DNA sample or something to do a system overload, everybody self-destruct in 0.2 seconds. Right? That's like all I could think, and I was like, I really hope that's not it.
One thing for sure, we know it's not Q because they killed him in the last season. But
but if they want to bring something back, they should bring back Q's kid from Voyager. Hey,
there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Right, well, let's draw a line then. If there's no more kind of wild theories, so the line must be drawn here. Okay, so this is where we really get into it. So go, Pete.
Okay. They sorry, I'm pulling up my notes here. I have
this is all of our thoughts and nitpicks for anybody that's sort of following along with this that hasn't watched us before. or listened to us before.
I have two nitpicks. My first nitpick, I am willing to like put on hold for right now to give the writers more rope to hang themselves. But some of the characters feel off to me a little bit, and I don't quite like, it's not quite jiving for me. So Pacifist Worf, like they did a lot about Pacifist Worf in this episode. And part of me was like, you introduce the character by having him decapitate somebody. And he did some brilliant tactical battles against the Vulcan gangster. And so now in, his third episode of this season, to try to hit the pacifist note hard just doesn't, I don't know. It was ringing the wrong notes for me, right?
You mean after he cut off somebody's head in the first episode he appears in?
Yeah. And so I was like, why are we harping on pacifist Worf, right? Yeah. Like, I feel like that's the wrong word to use. If you want to make the point that he is becoming more of like a sensei, right? Or like a mystical warrior, sure. That's a very different thing. Anyway, two, the Geordi character, it just felt off. Like, I kept waiting for something else to happen.
Right.
Like his lines were, his first line is like, listen to me right now, shut everything down. Yeah. And so I was expecting him to go like, shut it down because they're watching, right?
Yeah.
But they never really made that connection. And so everything just sort of felt like herky-jerky. And so part of me is like, well, maybe they're trying to make it purposefully weird to set up some other point.
Like a changeling or something.
Like a changeling or something, but we didn't get that here.
No.
The Deanna Troi thing feels weird, but maybe they're setting up a changeling thing with her.
Yeah.
And so like, that's like one thing. I was like, I didn't love this episode as much as I loved the last episode.
Right.
Because these things felt weird and there wasn't a resolution in the episode like there was when Worf died and then came back, same episode. I was like, yes. But this, it was like, oh, it's not quite fitting together. I don't quite feel it.
Okay. Right? Yeah, no, I'm sort of glad you touched on that, because one of my sort of mine, and I'm enjoying this, and I enjoyed the episode for the most part, but I did have a few niggles, and one of the things, in fact, I was going to ask you about this, as you have, you're a father of daughters, and all of this sort of thing. So, yeah, my problem was around Geordi, and the reason being is, really like LeVar Burton as both an actor and a director. I think he's fantastic. Yeah. I like that he's been able to evolve Geordi over the years. It started with the movies where he was able to finally lose the visor and have the cybernetic eyes and all of that sort of thing. Something that I know, sort of drove LeVar Burton nuts during production with the banana clip over his eyes, and all of that stuff. And obviously now he's a father. He's got 2 daughters serving in Starfleet, and he feels Picard put them in danger, which absolutely. When they were in the nebula, there was no doubt about the fact that Sydney was in huge peril along with the rest of the crew. And all this sort of thing. But I did think that Geordi was being sort of uncharacteristically difficult to start with. Obviously we start to get the old Geordi by the end when he steps in to help with the cloaking device, and of course says that it violates various several treaties, one of which of course is the Treaty of Algernon, as we find out in the Pegasus when with Riker and whatever. But so that, and then of course when he connects with Data, there's a bit of their friendship and the old Geordi there. But one of the things that really bothered me right? And it's kind of, again, nitpicky little sort of continuity thing that kind of annoyed me a bit, is he's got a real problem with Sydney going off to be a navigator stroke helms person on a ship and getting out there and seeing it. But the thing I find weird with this is in season 1 of Next Gen, when they had the sort of revolving door of, you know, chief engineer of the week kind of thing, right? Geordie at that point was in the cranberry red color, and he was navigator stroke helm, right? And Patrick Stewart even used to joke in interviews back then that they have a blind navigator, right? You know, and all of this. So his career path is not dissimilar to what Sydney is doing, and it's almost like they've kind of retcon that, you know, the fact that she's not following the sort of engineering thing like Alandra's doing, and obviously that keeps her safe because she's with him and all this. I get that, but yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of a little bit. All of that stuff felt a bit clunky to me, and I you know, and I was going to ask you because, you know, you've got daughters, so I just wondered, you know, does that sort of, you know, ring true? Do you sort of get where he's coming from, or did you think he was being sort of uncharacteristically difficult there at the beginning? You know,
I hate talking about my views on.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean that. I didn't mean to be personal. Sorry.
No. Here's what I just want to say. Like, I don't mind. I feel like people are going to get mad at me because I do not consider myself a good parent, and I do not consider myself an expert by any means on parenting.
Nobody is.
Yeah, I have a positive relationship, I think, with all 3 of my daughters, but at the same time, like, I think everybody has a different approach to it. I would never be in the position that Jordy's in with his daughters, but on the other hand, like, I've never been, I think protective might be the wrong word, but, you know, like, that's, I guess I'm waffling, but what I say is, like, I understand where he's coming from and how he expresses it. It's not how I would ever behave. But I guess I can understand it, and I don't think it's terrible.
It just didn't. I don't know. It just that those first few scenes, you know, he comes in and hugs Beverly and all of that, but then it's just. And also, this is another little nitpick I've got just in general about this sort of the narrative here. So. Beverly is supposed to have disappeared out of everyone's life for over 20 years. Yeah. And that's kind of, I don't know. The hug was almost like, yeah, they haven't seen each other for a long time, but they've kept in touch kind of thing. And it was, I don't know. Again,
that's not how I took that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I like what he says when he comes off the transporter is that he was trying to decide, like, what's the right way to respond. And I took that to be him saying, like, I don't know how to greet you if you've cut me out of your life for 20 years.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
But I'm going to try hugging you, right?
Right.
The thing that was weird to me about that is that he says to Beverly, like, I don't know how to greet you because you cut me, right? But I'm going to hug you. And then he looks to his 2 other friends who he presumably has not been cut off from and just goes, yeah, right? Like, hi,
we haven't got time,
hi Captain, hi Riker, right? Hi Picard, hi Riker. Yep. We should have a much more friendly, like, hug should be, I think, in line.
Yeah.
But instead, hey, good, we're good. Let's keep going, right?
Yeah. I love that Captain Shaw, you know, for all of his, you know, not being impressed by Picard or Riker, but as a previous engineer is meets one of his heroes in Geordie, and
I did
it
like
kind
that
of
as well. Yeah.
turns into a bumbling fool, which I kind of like. By the way, Raffi, who is so good in this season, I have to say,
Yeah.
Michelle Hurd being one of the takeover passovers from the previous seasons, is absolutely killing it in this season. But they gave her kind of an alternative Starfleet uniform, and I thought it looked really frigging cool.
Okay, I forgot to write this in my notes.
Right.
Do you know what I think she's wearing? Is there's a company that sells leather jackets that are supposed to look like Starfleet uniforms.
Oh, right.
I think she's wearing one.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it did have a sort of leather finish to it. Yeah. I just
like,
thought
straight up, it's a fan service company. I'm not gonna pull it up and look up the name, but when I go to board game conventions,
right.
they're always there selling those leather jackets, and I'm always looking at them being like, man, these are really cool, but they're like $300 or something, and I'm like, I'm not spending $300 on a leather jacket. Yeah, because I'm cheap, I guess. But because when I say it seems like a normal price. But yeah.
One thing that was a bit weird there as well is presumably they beam on board from the La Sierra, right? But
yeah.
But we don't. I don't know what's happened to that ship now. The La Sienna, sorry.
Yeah. No, to be honest, the ship decisions don't make a lot of sense here, because one of the things that Geordi lets out is that all of the ships now are networked together, right? Seems like a big problem considering what we know about artificial intelligence from season 1 of Picard.
Well, and this is kind of interesting because this is kind of, if you like, things coming full circle again, right? Because this whole thing about the ships being networked, and again, we guess they're going to take ships from the Fleet Museum because maybe they're not connected to the network, which is very Battlestar Galactica. That's kind of the conceit of the Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica, the reimagining, was that the reason they're able to sort of elude the Cylon invasion is because the Galactica's an old ship, an old museum ship that's not connected to the main network that the Cylons use to attack, right? So, but interestingly, on the audio commentary for Star Trek Generations, Ron Moore and Brannon Braga do a commentary on that as the writers of that film, and they were saying that one of Moore's original ideas was that the Enterprise had become a museum ship. It had decommissioned as a museum ship and whatever, and they didn't go with that idea, which he later then recycled for Battlestar Galactica. But interestingly, that sort of thing seems to be coming back to Star Trek again, because I'm assuming they're going to use those ships that they've now established, and they've obviously built the CG models of. They've established in this episode, because they won't be connected to any Starfleet network. Those ships are going to be I mean, I'm guessing that's what's going to happen, which makes me wonder if they're going to have all the different ships turn up and it's going to be cameo city, as I said, Kirk on the Enterprise. Oh, there you go. Maybe O'Brien will be on the Defiant, or Cisco or something. but you know what I mean. So that's quite funny that's one of those plot points that sort of went from an idea for Star Trek Generations that got dropped and then got put into Battlestar Galactica, which Ron Moore produced, and now is sort of looks like it's going to be a plot point in Trek. God, I've gone full nerd alert here, haven't I? Jesus. But yeah, cool. I feel like there's lots of stuff that we haven't covered. Obviously, there's the whole okay, so this whole Data thing, how to get Brent Spiner back as Data, even though he's aged and Data has actually died twice, as I love the fact Raffi points out. By
Yeah.
the way, I love that. What were your thoughts of how they handled that?
I don't remember there being another synth body. Do you? Like, I thought that Picard got Sung's synth body.
Yeah. So did I.
And so now we've got an extra one.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Right? Like, it just feels stupid, but not stupid. It feels cheap, you know? But okay, fine. It is what it is. I don't love it. I do like the idea, though, if we ignore that, of Sung having this sort of change of heart, wanting to create something bigger and uploading as many consciousnesses as he can into the synth body. And I'm like, oh man, I like it. I want to see where they go with it. I think that Brent Spiner is such an amazing actor and has done such a great job over the years of separating out. Like, I don't know. I can't think of anyone else who could, like, with a look, made a, like, I was instantly like, that's lore, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
With a look.
Yeah.
Versus right before it, like, just like, enough cannot be said about how well he did that and separating it out, that I didn't need him to say, or I didn't need them to say, that's before, that's lore, that's right, because you could see it happening. And so I like it, right? Apart from the sort of like cheesy conceit of now we have an extra body, an extra synth body, which means that, to go into crazy speculation, are they going to alter the synth body to look like Jack now and then upload Jack's consciousness into it, right? So that then Jack gets a synth body too. I don't know, but
yeah. Oh, that's interesting. No, I mean, one of the things, at least they haven't done sort of really bad CG de-aging like they had to in the first season. At least it sort of makes sense that Data or that character, sorry, it's not, but that Brent looks the age that he is, and okay, they've retained the yellow eyes, but they've kind of dispensed from the goldy white skin and all of that sort of stuff. And he now looks the age he is, as opposed to 30 plus years ago. So and I think, because I do feel that I think Brent Spiner is great, and I think he's a great actor, and I like all that he's done. As I said, I loved it when he appeared in Enterprise. That was great, but I did roll my eyes a little bit in the last season at the way they kind of shoehorned him in, and I didn't really like the way they did that at all. But yeah, I think this is better. And of course, they're still not all together, but we've had all of the main crew. What about the obviously Riker? They had the beam inhibitor, that the transport inhibitor, sorry, that got in there. I mean, did you have any feeling for a second that, oh my God, is Riker gonna die here to
No.
get Data off heroically or whatever? No. Okay. And what about the do you like the fact that Data is the key to the vault?
So I feel like they didn't do a great job explaining this.
Right.
I watched it twice. The first time I watched it, I thought that Data was in command of, like, the AI system that they were talking about was Data. Which made sense if Data was actually, like, using Moriarty projection as part of him, and it makes sense that he would set that up as like a false screen to make sure that if Riker or anyone from, Enterprise Next Generation showed up, they would be really them and not a changeling. It seemed like a nifty, different changeling test, right? But then watching it the second time, they seem to really make the distinction that he's not the key. He's not the AI system. He was just another piece of tech that they were holding on to, but a piece of tech that had made an inventory of the system.
Right. Okay.
So that feels like a little bit messier to me, and I don't quite get that. I liked my headcanon the first time round better. That, this synthetic body that holds all this cybernetics is running Daystrom behind the scenes.
Right.
But I think that's not what is actually supported by the text.
Right. Okay. And I've only watched it the once, so I want to make sure I've got this right. So as well as the sort of the weapon that they use to sort of dimension shift or whatever when they were in the nebula, I forget what they called that weapon, but there was that
transporter weapon. Yeah.
So the other thing that they stole from the Daystrom station was the Picard remains. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite weird as well that they had to use that device on the Starfleet operations building or whatever as a diversion. But I'm like, but hold on, they already had that device anyway, so why did they need to create that diversion in the first place?
Oh, because if you steal the transporter weapon and Picard's body, right, then they're like, well, why did they steal those two things? But if you steal the transporter weapon and then use the transporter weapon, then everyone's like, oh, they stole the transporter weapon to use it on this terrorist attack.
Yeah, that does make sense.
And then you ignore the body.
Yeah. No, that does make total sense. I'm still playing catch up. Still reeling from this. So
it makes sense to me. Yeah, that one made sense to me. Yeah.
And then obviously, the whole Geordie thing. I mean, he does come around when we get the whole, adding the cloaking device to the Titan. But yeah, I don't know. Any other? I feel like we're missing something big.
Are we?
Oh, I don't know. Just wondering.
I got my notes.
The Jet Crusher thing kind of got pushed to the side a little bit this week, didn't it?
We don't know why they want him, but they doubled down on wanting his body.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course we now know that Vadik is a changeling, because that was obviously a question previously, but we see at the end there she goes from the Starfleet, security officer to Vadik. Still a lot of questions, but then we still got nearly 4 hours worth of story to come. So a lot of things. I do think now I've said it out loud, I do think that my my question of theory or whatever is a bit bonkers, but it did make me wonder. It really did. Wonder whether they're going to try and do that whole epic battle at the end with all the ships and try and cram as many cameos from the world of Trek in there as possible.
Good. Let's go.
Will Janeway take command of one of them? What other characters?
Kieran Reese.
Oh my god! I've just thought, what if Archer's still alive, and they get Scott Bakula?
He would be 400 years old.
Well, he'd be No, 200 and well, he'd be nearly 300 years old. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. Shame. No, that would
Paul
work
could
for
be
strange. That would work for Strange New Worlds, but not for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have to Paul there.
Yeah.
To Paul.
You could have to Paul. Yeah. Because it's the 200 and is it
50.
250th anniversary of Frontier
Yeah.
Day. Yeah, and obviously Archer was about 40 at that point. So yes,
So he'd be 300. Yeah.
That's too much.
No, but you could have to Paul there.
So, yes, you could.
You could have descendants of Hoshi and Mayweather. You could have Shran, maybe.
Yeah.
We don't know what the lifespan of Andorians are.
Yeah. Tuvok. Although I think Tuvok was quite old when he set off, wasn't he? Because he was around in Captain Sulu's time on the Excelsior. So yeah, he would already be.
You could have Tuvok there. No. But he'd be, Tuvok is younger than T'Pol.
Yeah. Yes. Star Trek ages and timelines. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Have you got anything out? I know we've gone really long here, and
this has been a great discussion for me.
Anything you want to add?
I loved it.
I'm going to go and watch all the Easter egg videos now and kick myself at all the ones that
all the ones we missed.
All things I missed. But and yes, I won't. Obviously, if I get invited on other live streams, I certainly won't turn them down moving forward. It was just this particular one. I was like, oh God, I want to talk to Pete about this before anyone else.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciated it. Let's see if Kirk comes back.
Okay. So before we go, let's just open a channel.
No, rank pin.
Sorry, you're absolutely right. It's I've messed this up again, haven't I?
No.
Rankings. Yes. Sorry. I forget we're doing our rank pin ratings on this one. So last week you voted, bearing in mind you started off very cold on this season.
I did.
Pete,
yeah.
And you voted last week's episode as a captain.
I did.
Where are you at this week?
So I will say the first time I watched it, I was really annoyed at the pacing. I feel like this episode could have been a lot faster. And so the first time I watched it, I was pretty down on it. I watched it again last night and I enjoyed it more. I'm torn between giving it, a commander or a lieutenant commander. So I think I'm just going to go lieutenant commander because I'm going to be pessimistic about how it turns out. But I will say that this is a ranking that in retrospect could be upgraded to commander depending on how the next two episodes go. Fair
enough. Well, I'm going to go with a commander. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as last week's episode. However, this was member berry, Easter egg, fan service city, and I'll give it something for that. I'm just taking a little bit of a point away from some of my minor niggles that I had with the episode. So, Pete, where can people find us if they want to get in touch?
The Let's See What's Out There podcast is available on all good podcasting apps. You can follow us on social medias at LSWOT cast, or you can reach out to us directly at lswotcast@gmail.com. Keith, where can people find more of you and your work?
Yeah, well, if you want to see some of my more creative work, if you go to British Isles, that's EYLES, which is my other YouTube channel. I've got an anthology of short films there, including The Baby Watcher, which features Pop Goes the Weasel as a reference to Star Trek. Please do check those out. It would be lovely to get more views and any feedback. Welcome, I can take it. And obviously, you can follow us on the socials, as Pete's already said. Just want to also give credit to Neil Myers for our opening, closing theme music. Neil's work can be found at neilmyersmusic.com, and William McLaughlin for our logo, which William's work can be found at wasm_official. Check out some of his really good artwork that he has on there. And yeah, check out, I've got some Star Trek playlists where we look at physical media, etc. for Star Trek. But yeah, that just leaves me to say thank you as always, Pete, for joining us on this voyage. I'm really looking forward to the next episode, obviously. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
These are the voyages, you know?
Sorry?
These are the voyages.
They are indeed. We'll see you next time on
Let's See What's Out There.
Bye for now.